Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Hi, Jana. It's nice to see you. So today we are fortunate to have Jana Day from Sony Pictures Animation joining us. She was kind enough to help us out and come talk to you today. I guess I'll let you introduce yourself. You'll do a better job than I will. Move my screen over here so it's in front of me. So.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jana Day, and I am with Sony Pictures Animation. I'm the head of recruiting for the studio. I've been with the studio for about 18 years. Previous to that, I worked for Big Idea Productions, the VeggieTales peeps. I've also worked for, I helped start up DreamWorks Animation. And before that, I was with Warner Brothers. So I've been around for a little while. My group, the Sony Pictures Animation, has the front end of production. So we have the visual development, the story, the directors, pretty much everything up until layout, although layout actually is coming our way, it seems like, onto the next Spider-Verse. But pretty much after layout, everything goes up to Sony Pictures ImageWorks, which is based up in Vancouver. So where lighting, modeling, animation, character TDs, all of that kind of stuff happens up with our sister studio up in Vancouver. So there you go. And my husband is a professor at Purdue Hotel Tourism and Management on the tourism side. So that's why you get me today. I am sharing this very cold weather with you.
It's nice to have you here, Jana. So this, we kind of talked on email a little bit, you, I, and Tim. So this is a group of largely sophomores. There's a few that are not, but they are this professional practices class, and you have a lot of experience. And as we kind of said in email, however you'd like to, whatever direction you'd like to take it, go right ahead.
Okay, well, I think you guys have a job fair coming up. Is that right? Do I have that right?
There was one this past week, and then there's another one, an entertainment one coming up here pretty soon too. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So one of the things that we were talking about was job fairs and how to set yourself apart and how to set yourself up for success. Now, as a recruiter, I've done lots of job fairs from the recruiting perspective, and there's a few things that you can do to stand out. One of them is to make sure that you, when you're actually physical in person again, which will happen eventually, if you go to like a SIGGRAPH, or if you get the opportunity, you should definitely try and go, or Lightbox Expo, or CTN Expo, any of those. Oftentimes they'll walk up to a booth or a table, and you should make sure that you have extra resumes. Bring a notebook so that if you have questions, you're able to get answers to those and write those down. Some places will actually do portfolio reviews on site. So make sure that you have a charged review device, whether that's your computer or a tablet of some sort. I've reviewed on phones, although not ideal. We've done it. Whatever is charged is a good one. And make sure that you bring a charger with you, just in case something goes awry. You can't always count on the internet. Sometimes you'll have internet access and sometimes you won't. So make sure that it's actually physically on whatever device that you are you're looking at. The other thing I highly recommend, whether it's in person or even virtual, is do your homework. Most companies, most school, I'm fairly certain Purdue does this as well, will send out a list of companies that are going to be there. It's pretty easy if you do a LinkedIn search to find out who the college recruiters are. They're usually titled university outreach or college recruitment within the studios. You can connect with them before you go if you get the opportunity to do so. I will say, don't expect them to remember you, but it's always good to say, hey, I connected with you. At least it shows that you've done that, done that research. Check out and see what the studios are up to. When we have somebody who walks up to us and says, can you tell me a little bit about your studio? We will. We will answer that question. But it's a lot more fun when somebody talks, tell me a little bit about, the next Spider-Verse, or, how did Gendy Tartakovsky animate those characters? Do some research so the studio that you're talking to. And also, if you can, find out what upcoming films they have. People love to get excited and talk about the different projects that they're working on. They may not be able to tell you a lot about it, but they'll tell you as much as they can. So do your research. Read the person behind the table. If I meet Ron, and Ron is somebody who doesn't necessarily like to shake hands, which happens a lot at conventions or at job fairs because you're shaking a lot of hands. In post-COVID, it may change, I'm not sure. But if somebody has their arms crossed, chances are pretty good they do not want to shake your hand, or just do a fist pump or an elbow bump, or whatever it may be. But if somebody does give out their hand, practice your handshake. It sounds silly, but make sure you have a good strong handshake. If you're nervous, and that happens, gosh, that happens. I've been there, and your hands might be a little wet, or balmy, I guess. Make sure that you maybe wash them beforehand, or that you wipe them off on your pants or something. Just make sure it's a good clean handshake. Let's see. I also recommend that you bring mints. It gets to be a long day. Mints are a good thing, as well as hand gel. The other thing that's kind of important is that there's usually, if it's a job fair on campus, there's usually only going to be 1 or 2 people. But if you're going to a SIGGRAPH or to another large event, there will be shift changes. Talk to as many people as possible. And whether that means you're talking to, you just get that much more bang for your buck. And see if you can't. Some studios will take resumes. We generally don't. We'll ask you to send it in so we can look at it. But if I am chatting with somebody and they're super fun, and I enjoy talking to them, and they want to give me their card, I'll take it. And I tend to remember that. The other thing is that at those large events, oftentimes on the outskirts, there'll be like a PA or a production coordinator handing out flyers of certain information. Make sure that you get to talk to them too. I can't tell you how many times I have a secret weapon. His name is Chad. Chad loves to do these events. And he will talk to anyone, and he loves to do it. But he will hand me, not a lot, but usually 5 cards or so after every single event, and say, these are the people I really enjoyed. So just because you're not talking to a recruiter or an artist, everybody counts. So make sure that you do talk to everybody. And be friendly, because you never know who who that is. And in this industry, a production coordinator one day is a producer the next. So make sure that you're friendly and talking to everybody. Plus, they like it, and it makes it more fun. If you do have a portfolio and you have a different one, say for modeling, and maybe another one for probably not rigging, but you're not sure if you want to be an animator, have 2 separate ones, so that you can, if you're talking to somebody about modeling, you're actually showing your modeling skills. If you tack on some animation at the back, that's okay. But if you're interviewing for an animation position, make sure that your animation is up front. We don't expect as students for you to have a huge breadth of work, but if you have 3 to 5 pieces, that's a good solid place to start. As freshmen, you might only have 2 or 3, but make sure that they're your best ones, the ones you're most proud of. And check it out with each other. Have if you have, I know you guys have a pretty a SIGGRAPH group, or women in animation. Have portfolio reviews with each other, and listen to the critiques. You don't have to take all of the notes, but if you keep hearing those notes over and over again, you might want to take a look at it. If your professors are giving you notes, take those notes. Let's see. If you are involved in various organizations on campus, whether that be SIGGRAPH or Women in Animation or some of the other ones that are out there, make sure that that's on your resume. We love to see that people are involved and that they're interested. We know that some people are working their way through school and may not have a lot of time to be part of all of that. But an interest in it and reading up on it and being part of as much as you can, I think is super important. Ron, was there anything else that you can think of that I rattled off there that oh, I know, on your resume, make sure you have an email address. Does Purdue, do you get to keep your address, your email address after you graduate?
I think it's only maybe a semester or so, unless last I knew that was it, but I don't know.
Okay, well, we're going to go
here,
with
so.
that. So make sure that you have an email address that you're going to check regularly. It's not uncommon for me to meet somebody on campus and I may not have a job for them for a year, or 2 later, but I've kept in touch with them. So make sure that you have an email address that we can find and one that you're going to check. It should be a professional email address, whether that's your name, ron.j.glotzbach@gmail or whatever it is. Did I say that right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Yes.
All right. Try, as much fun as it is to have kind of weird and wacky email addresses, when I have to type them in, it definitely makes me think twice. So make sure that you have a good solid email address where we can find you. Phone numbers have changed a little bit, but if you're not used to answering your voicemails, make sure that you start, because sometimes there are recruiters who will reach out to you by phone first. So my son is one of those where he doesn't always check. He's better about it now, but he used to have like 30. So make sure that you're checking those voicemails, and also that you're deleting them so that your voicemail isn't full. That's another one that is hard to get through. Let's see. Research. Oh, you can set up Google Alerts, which I absolutely love. So every morning in my email box, I get news on all the specific studios that I tend to follow. And it all comes in. The work is done for me. So I know what's happening in the industry. And it's super helpful to stay up what's out there. There's also some really good information out there, sometimes on cartoonbrew.com, awn.com is a good one. I mentioned Women in Animation. They have a fantastic job blog or job email blast that goes out. SIGGRAPH, anything out there, sign up for those, those email newsletter blasts. That's super, I think they're super helpful. You can also sign up for job alerts on LinkedIn. So for those of you who will be looking for internships, that's a big one. You can just put in, anything animation or, a specific studio. I wouldn't rely on them completely. You still do your homework and check the websites, but it's a really great place to start. If you have a portfolio site or you use Instagram or ArtStation, especially if you're using like Instagram, make sure that you have an artist one that's just for you, that just shows your artwork. We love to get to know you when we hope to do so. But we really don't need to know what you did over the weekend or what you had for dinner. Keep it professional. We should be able to see your artwork and see it pretty quickly as we're scrolling, scrolling through. Okay, so a couple questions. Who knows what the best time for an interview is and day? Put it in the chat if you know. I see 9 a.m. right after lunch, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. is pretty close. Morning, midnight, no, midnight. After lunch. All right, here goes. Thank you for those of you who answered. 10 a.m., Jay is very close. So the best day, if you get a call back from a job fair, is 10:30 on a Tuesday. Believe it or not, that is the best time and the best day. So if you are given a chance to pick your day and time, that is when people are most fresh. Mondays are hard because you're kind of coming back from the weekend. Friday, you're getting ready for the weekend. That's not to say that we don't do interviews at that time, because we do. But if you get the opportunity to pick your time, that's the sweet spot. Also, remember that the people that you're talking to, are balancing lots of different candidates and lots of different information. So how many of you have constructed a, what we call an elevator pitch? And the chat goes quiet. All right, Mark, can you come? If you are comfortable, you don't have to. Mark, all right, Mark and Claire. If you are comfortable, turn your camera on, and are you comfortable sharing it with us? All right, Mark, hit us.
Sure, just let me pull it up real quick because it's kind of right in the spotlight. So
That's okay.
Give me 1 second. I just need to pull it up rapidly.
All right. Claire, if you have it and you are comfortable, you want to share it, that's great. Let's hear it. Have you guys heard each other's? No. Not yet? Okay.
I'm good to go.
All right, go for it, Mark. Okay. Let's hear it.
My name is Mark, and I'm a dedicated student at Purdue University studying web design and development. I have an outstanding academic history along with experience in teaching and mentoring fellow students in an official capacity. I'm currently seeking out opportunities in development of websites along with managing them. If you are interested in someone who you can count on to be dedicated to their job with passion and willingness to learn, please contact me at either my phone number or email.
That's good. That's good. All right. I would caution you, unless that is a really tall elevator, you may not get to finish. So an elevator pitch is what we call, Mark, well done, by the way, good job. And
thank you.
I really appreciate you putting yourself out there. And I will give you my email address if you want me to help you fine tune that for putting yourself out there. I appreciate that. It should be pretty short and pretty laser focused. Because remember, in California, buildings are not tall because we've got earthquakes. So you may only have 3 floors. So it should be really laser focused. All right, Claire, ready?
Yes, mine's not as polished as that, but I usually.
That's okay, hit us. That's all right. We are all learning here. It's all good.
Hello, my name is Claire Settlemeyer. I'm a junior studying building information modeling, and I'm passionate about the world of virtual design construction. I'm currently seeking opportunities for internships, or next year I'll be seeking opportunity for full-time employment.
Great, good. You're there. You're on your way. Good job, Claire. I will also give you my email address if you want to I'm happy to walk through that with you as well. That statement should be 3 to 5 sentences. So imagine you're walking up, you've never met me. It is 4:30 on Friday. I'm exhausted. You are the 4th school I've been to. It's your state, and that happens a lot, actually. We travel a lot. Um, your statement should be clear, concise, and tell me who you are. So if I can give you guys an assignment, Ron, I hope this is okay. Come up with 5 words that tell me who you are. Not necessarily what you do, but who you are. So, you know, what are what are some things that describe you so that I get to know you? Because it's a certain point, I've seen so many resumes over the course of the day. But you know, what's going to tell you, you know, who are you? Are you, you know, Mark is dedicated. I think I heard that in there. I know that Claire is a junior, but you know, are you, you know, do you sit on clubs? Do you sit on boards? What do you love about animation? You know, or Mark, you said web design, I think. Did I get that right? Yep. Okay. So out of all of those things, I know that Mark is dedicated in web design. Those are the only 2 that I can remember. So, which are important. But you know, make sure that you know, what you have out there is memorable and a little bit different. You know, are you from, you know, a small town in the middle of Indiana? You know, what's going to set you apart and make you a little bit different. So that is what it should be different than your summary. It should be, again, those, you know, no more than like 3 to 4, you know, sort of sentences. So have that ready to go. I have had people walk with me from one meeting to another because they're trying to get to, you know, trying to get in front of me. So you can't, you know, you don't have time to fumble. You really have time to, you know, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and this is what I want to do. Boom, done. You know, and put it out there. All right, Claire and Mark, I totally appreciate you doing that. Ron, can I, if I don't get a chance to give you my email address, Ron, can I ask that you will pass that along to them?
Absolutely, I will. Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. We'll set up some time and get that going for you. And then maybe you can share them with the class. How's that? All right. So we've got our statement. We're ready to go. We've talked about not interviewing on Mondays and Fridays if at all possible. Not that those are bad, but sometimes Mondays are good. You're the first one, you know, you might be the first one out there. You know, just try and but that Tuesday is good. Avoid lunchtime if you can, or immediately before noon. Somebody might be a little hangry. You know, and maybe you not necessarily concentrate, or right after lunch, because that can be a food coma sort of thing. Yes, Thursdays are a good day, but again, just that Tuesday at 10:30 is the sweet spot for some reason. So if a company is hiring, that late morning is probably is good, somewhere between Tuesday and Thursday. But if you get one at 5 o'clock on Friday, don't panic. Just be memorable, and they will remember you. All right. We mentioned that everybody is interviewing you, and that will be true when we can actually go into to meetings again. But I have a coordinator that helps me schedule all of my interviews. So when you're talking with that person again, be super. Not that any of you won't be, but I have had some people who are just complete, who think, oh, it's just a coordinator. They're not going to affect my job search, and they do. So make sure that you're kind to everybody. Now, most of you have your cameras off, which is okay. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Mark. But if you are interviewing, your camera should be expected to be on. Make sure that you are in a quiet surroundings. I have a dog whose name is Gryffindor, who loves to bark. I close the door, make sure that, you can't hear any animals or potential roommates, who might come in. I highly recommend that you keep your resume close so that if somebody asks you something about the job, then you have the ability to answer it, and it's all right there for you. Let's see, we've talked about our story statement. Let's see, prepare for that horrible question of what's your weakness? Have an answer for it. It should be a real one, not like a humble brag sort of situation. We call our dog Gryffindor, and we call him Griffin. That's awesome. Well done, Hill. So make sure that you you have an answer for that, and practice with one another. You have what we call now, if you could actually see each other, this is your network. So, make sure that you know each other, and you get to know each other. You get to know each other at some point. That will happen again someday, I promise. That you, if I'm hiring somebody, and Mark is my very best web designer, okay, sorry, it's getting to be the end of my day here. He's the best, and I want to hire another one. I'm going to ask, Mark, do you happen to know Claire? You went to school with her. Do you know anything about her? And he's going to say, yes, she had the best elevator pitch. So, or something about that. Or I remember this project that she did. So this is your network. So, be no divas, get to know each other, because I promise you it will help. The other thing that happens is that after graduation, you guys all go to different places. So now you have got, there are 107 people on the call, minus Ron and myself. That's 105 people that are now at different places around the globe. So your network has now expanded. So make sure that you are connected with people on LinkedIn, and that, when you have your alumni events, that you are keeping in touch with people, and, make sure that you are you're using your network, because so much of getting connected with people is through your network. If Claire comes to me and says, I met this totally great, guy in college, his name is Mark, he's a fantastic web designer, and I am staring at a stack of 100 resumes, and Claire, whom I love, says, Mark is the one you want to hire, I guarantee you Mark is going to the top of the pile. So use that network. It's not to say that we won't look through the other 100, we will, but you're already in the yes pile. So those are good things to know. Okay, so what's your weakness? I got lost on a sidetrack there. Make sure that you are, you have that ready to go. Be prepared to give examples, of where you had a problem. What was the situation, and what was the action? What did you do to solve it? And what was the result? What changed? Make sure that you have those type of things, available, so that if you are on a project and you have somebody who maybe had a tough work schedule and you had to work around it, you have an example of how you led a team through that, or how your team got through that difficult situation. When you send your thank you note, and I know that you all will send your thank you note, even if you only have one email address, it's okay to address it to everybody. Attach your resume, just so it's clear and they can remember you. And follow up with people. Give it some time. If they say 2 weeks and you haven't heard, it's absolutely appropriate to at the end of that 2 weeks to follow up and find out what's happening. The industry right now is in a whole lot of flux and change, just because release dates are all over the place. So things are moving at a slower pace, but it's okay. I love it when people I've talked to, shoot me a note and say, hey, I'm rolling off this project. Do you have anything coming up? Those are the people that stay, in the forefront of my mind. So much of this industry is about relationships and building those. So you don't want to, email every single day, but within a reasonable amount of time, it's absolutely okay and appropriate to follow up. All right, I'm rattling off here pretty fast. LinkedIn. How many of you are comfortable on LinkedIn? Who's got a profile? Yes. All right, I see some going up there. All right, a few, awesome. Are your profile pictures professional? Yep, it's not a selfie, you know, no, it's a professional background. You had somebody else actually take it for you so that it looks professional. It doesn't have to be, my dad took the photo, that's awesome. They've done studies, and people who have a profile picture and one that is professional, people will connect with. If it is, I saw somebody say they still have the default one, you know, get a quick snap and put it up there so that people, you know, can see you. And even if it's a hand-drawn, it's a cartoon, you know, something, just so people can, you know, can see that picture. Okay, I'm trying to follow these as they go across. Anyway, so have that up there because more people are likely to connect with you when that happens. Also, make sure that you put stuff on your LinkedIn, that you have different jobs. If you worked if you're working your way through school and you are a waiter, and that is how you're doing it, put it out there. It's okay. You know, that sort of work history and that sort of stuff is good to have. All right, keywords. I'm sure you've all heard about keyword searches. Yes? No, I can't see anybody. Okay, Claire has heard about keyword searches. Thank you, Claire. Keywords, as you are looking at different job descriptions, you'll find some keywords that are part of that, you know, part of that job description that we're looking for, Maya or Python or C++, whatever it is, you know, or a certain type of tool, you know, or you know, a certain walk cycle or animation, whatever it is that's out there. You don't want to make stuff up, but make sure that that's in your resume. When we actually do searches, we can put in keywords, and some programs will rank them based on the number of matches. But in my particular program, those keywords are highlighted. So it does a lot of the work for me in terms of pulling out that information. So make sure that you have those keywords in there. Your skills, you can actually list your skills on your resume and on LinkedIn. If you have stuff online, hashtag your work so that we can find you. If I'm searching on a hashtag, you know, your stuff comes up. All right, I've been rambling for half an hour here. Questions? Who's got some? Ron, did I hit everything that you were after? More so? Too much?
You've done great. You've done great. Yeah.
I've got one. I remember one we get pretty often, especially.
Hey, Tim.
Hi, this is Tim McGraw. Get a lot of people looking for, you know, art type positions, technical artists, and they want to know, you know, how much sort of graphical flair can they put in their resume? How much can they get away with, you know, rather than just, you know, black and white, no images, no vector graphics, you know, how much of that kind of stuff can you get away with?
It depends on who you ask. I have a colleague who says if you're a graphic artist, it should be out there. I tend to go on the cleaner look in that if your resume is being sent in and we can't get to those keywords, we can't get to the information, it gets lost. So if you do have stuff that's on there, make sure that your name and the important information is readable and that it won't get caught up in any search stuff or anything that's actually parsing that information out. I see a question about GPA. GPA can be important if you are, you know, you're doing R&D software sort of stuff. We probably will ask that or want to know that. But for animation, for modeling, that kind of thing, you don't, you know, if you don't have a 4.0, that is okay. In fact, it probably won't even be asked. However, I will say it may come into play later if you want to go to grad school or apply for grants or that kind of stuff. So it's not that it isn't important, but chances are very good it won't come up. I hope that answers that question. If you want to wear a top hat to a job interview, knock yourself out. There are some studios that would be completely and totally appropriate. When we were doing Surf's Up, any Surf's Up fans out there, we had so many people that came in board shorts because they wanted to work on the movie. So professional is probably best, but I would say, you know, stand out with stuff on your resume and, you know, with your interview skills. Let's see, cover letters. Let's see. There are people who will read cover letters from beginning to end. You never know what, you know, who that might be. And you also never know who your audience is. So I would have kind of a generic cover letter and then tailor it towards whatever job that you are applying to or whatever studio. If you think that Cloudy of a Chance of Meatballs was severely underrated, I agree with you. Actually, I think Surf's Up was severely underrated. You know, say that, you know, we'll remember that. We love that. The other thing is you know, make sure that if you're applying to Sony, that your cover letter does not start with Dear Disney. You know, I can't pass that along now. So, you know, make sure that you check all of that before you send it. So that would be the one thing. Unfortunately, I can't tell you anything about the new Spider-Verse except that it's awesome. But I promise you will enjoy it when you actually get to see it. The artwork is insane. It is absolutely insane. You will love it. You'll absolutely love it.
I had two kind of questions.
Sure.
So I know I've heard before about thank you notes that you should kind of mention something you talked about so the recruiter might remember you since they talk to so many people in a day. So I was wondering if you suggest that. And then also if you had a conversation that maybe wasn't as memorable with them, what's something you could include to kind of set yourself apart, like so they might remember you?
You know, I think that's a good question, Claire. Because we do talk to a lot of people, especially at a job fair situation or like a SIGGRAPH. You know, ask, you know, when you start a conversation and somebody says, hey, Claire, you know, how are you? Ask back, how are you? You know, give that, if I've got a line of people to talk to and somebody's going to give me a chance to breathe, you know, I love that. You know, I think just being professional and polite and, you know, being comfortable talking, in which I highly recommend that you practice if you're not, you know, just putting that out there. You know, if you're going, there aren't that many people who are going to be from Purdue, you know, so, you know, try and come up with something that's going to, you know, make you a little bit different. And different is good, you know, different is great. So, you know, one of my, actually, here's some Cloudy of the Chance of Meatballs inside tip. One of the writer's assistant, he wrote obituaries in Alaska. Now, most people aren't going to have that on there, but he actually is one of the top development execs now for Chris Miller and Phil Lord. But that was different. You know, we absolutely remembered it. So anything that's going to, you know, set you apart just a little bit. And honestly, if you're in a job fair, unless all 105 of you go at the same time, you know, Purdue is going to be a little bit different.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. How do you make that career? He's just a fun, absolutely awesome guy, and he needed to get through school, and they needed him to write obituaries, so he did. All right. What else do we got? Over the Hedge was not ours, but the producer was fantastic. Shark Tale was DreamWorks. Let's see. I have an ROTC question. If you want to ask me that later, Lewis, we can, or we can, it's going by too fast. I'm happy to try and answer that a little bit later. Anything that's gonna, set you apart in terms of military or any type of leadership experiences is good. Thank you, Emily. Smurfs were fantastic. You're right. Sony doesn't have a house style. We work on everything from Smurfs to Spider-Verse. So as an artist, you really get the opportunity to stretch yourself and work on all different kinds of projects, which is fun. All right, what other questions? How specific should it be? Your elevator pitch. I would say that I would keep it pretty general unless you know that unless you know for sure that you are who you're talking to and you know exactly what they're about and who they are. I would keep it pretty general. Because if I want to get more information, then I'll ask. Let's see. Virtual backgrounds. I have one. So yeah, that's fine. As long as it's not distracting. I had one earlier today where it was the beach one on Zoom. Everybody has that one. I think it's a standard one. And all I wanted to do was go to the beach because for those of you who are in West Lafayette, you know how cold it is right now. So make sure it's not distracting, a static one. Let's see, consider software certifications. If they're relevant to the job, yeah, they're important. I can't think of anything specific for animation that would be a certification, but it could be out there. That might change depending upon the studio. If you've got Excel and production management are best friends. So yeah, sometimes that's helpful. The soundtrack for the next Spider-Verse is not ready yet, but I know who's singing it. Most of the same cast is coming back. All right. Oh, I don't know if there's going to be a Malone song, but I got to tell you, that one sticks in your head, doesn't it? All right. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to hand it back to, let's see. I think I'm going to hand it. Is there a clever way to talk about projects that you signed NDAs for without breaching it? No, there isn't. If you signed an NDA, they've asked you to, they want you to keep that quiet. All right, back to you, Ron and Tim.
All right. Oh, I had one about portfolios too, if you've still got a minute. I know we have a few minutes before the end of class here. And I think kind of the standard conflict is, do you put everything and show a large skill set and maybe show the ability to be a generalist, or do you really stick with just your best work, even if you have only relatively few things to show?
I'm going to say that depends. If you are applying to a smaller studio, a generalist is absolutely appropriate. Or to a smaller gaming company or advertising agency, whatever, wherever you go, that's going to be absolutely appropriate. However, if we are hiring a modeler, we're going to want to see your modeling work. Now, if you have animation at the end of your reel, it better be good animation. So I hope that answers your question. I would say if you're at a big studio, it should be specific and only keep your best stuff in there. But a smaller studio, you can have a little bit more of everything.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
And a little anecdote on the NDA comment. During my master's degree, my chair was a principal investigator with a project at General Motors, and we weren't allowed to talk about it, but I was also I was also trying to get some research in. So I wrote a paper that was accepted at a conference, and my chair went with me. But I spent 30 minutes trying to talk about a project that I was not allowed to really talk about. And so since then, it's been kind of something that gives us a chuckle, because presenting at a conference on something that we weren't allowed to give details on.
Honestly, that happens sometimes if you are, especially if you're new, where you've got a research project, or you've worked on a project that isn't released yet. There are certain things that you can say without revealing, the specifics. So, I'm sure that, Ron worked with his advisor to talk, to figure out what they could talk about.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jared, I led you astray there. When we interview people, we ask them to sign NDAs. So that's what I thought you were asking about from our perspective. So yeah, if you have questions, I would talk to your advisor or to the project person that is leading it for you.
All right. Do we have anything else? Closing in on about 4 minutes left in class. Well, I think we'd all like to say thank you, Jana, for taking time out of the day to join us. Really appreciate
Absolutely.
Yes, thanks so much.
Absolutely. I'm so
thank
happy
you.
to happy to do that, and anything for my fellow boilers.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, Mark, Claire, and Lewis, if you want to follow up, Ron can give you my my email address. I'm happy to answer that. And for those of you who didn't volunteer, next time volunteer. You never know who will give you some personal attention.
All right. Well, I think we'll call it a day. Thank you all very much for coming.
All right, 3 minutes of your day back. Go.
Jana, I was recording this Zoom session. Are you okay if I post it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I appreciate it. Man, they go off fast, don't they?
Yeah.
All right. Ron, if I can be of any other assistance, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm happy to try and help.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, you guys. Be warm.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.